of the Constitution of Kenya, I think we need to look at that and say, what are the stakeholders talking about? Again, we're also talking in terms of our communications, whether it's TV, radio, or whatever, and discuss what does good and accountable leadership mean and their characteristics. On the economic pillar, I think our chair, she just talked about it. It's a people-centered and economy-led manifestos. And I think KEPSA has done a good job of going to the manifestos, focusing on them and addressing every issue that we're looking at. And I think whilst delivering on these aspirations, we want to make sure that people are accountable to what they say. Against this, we are looking at Kenya being a very focal point in the whole of Africa. East Africa is one, ACFT is another one, and therefore the gains we have made in terms of what we've got. In fact, this time as Kenya Daima, when we say Wajibu Wangu, we'd like to make sure that Kenya becomes an example of democracy and a real icon to say this is what we should be looking at. On the social pillar, we're talking about peaceful elections and a smooth transition. I think what we want to say is live life without interruptions, and therefore we're talking about peace messages going across and talking about where we're going in terms of leadership. We have enjoyed a very good working relationship with the Iebc, and particularly being vocal about the credibility and the institution that has been set up. And I think the agencies, we've also met with all the other agencies involved in elections, and I think this is important to say that Iebc remains free, independent, and less exerted on pressures by political pressures to say, do this and do that. And I think Iebc is a focal point for leading the way forward in terms of where we're going for a credible election. I think that's very crucial. Having said that, I think in May we had a meeting with all the institutions that are charged with elections and managing that. I think the discussions there were, let's all make sure we work together to ensure that Kenyans get what they want. Since Iebc plays a very key role in maintaining Kenya's democracy, I think we're glad here to be here today, to be engaging and not only hear from you on the progress and also on the credibility of what's going to happen, but also share our expectations. And I think a lot of our members also are able to disseminate a lot more confidence and important information that may not have been communicated to you. So the civil society, the religious groups, the business community, we've got our own community or constituency, and we can actually convey these messages from Iebc to them in a credible way. And I think that's quite crucial. But also we shall do kagua bele ya kuchagua, which means we actually want to make sure that you answer all our questions that we may have in terms of where we're going. So I think the key recommendations to Iebc, one, would be to ensure an electoral process that will deliver a transparent and accountable, free, fair, credible, and peaceful poll. To increase the public trust and confidence. And I think this is where communication. Very crucial to have that going forward so that everybody's aware that, yeah, we have people who are credible. We know that there is credibility. We know that our processes, we know there's a lot of work to do. But this time it's going to be different. There are 16,000, as what you have declared, 16,000 people who have now been cleared to go and vote, to get elected, standing or vying. And out of that, we have 1883, am I right? 1883, approximately, who will get elected. The rest, that's 90%, will actually say, I actually won, but there was a flaw in the process. There was a problem in this or that. And they'll go into the blame game. So I think this is where you will have to withstand that issue in terms of avoiding speculation and also making sure that the system integrity and also no more issues that come up as in the past. I think the trust, the integrity, the intention is going to be crucial and be tested. Next, I think we would say is take leadership of the electoral preparation process through increased engagement of this sort with key people, key agencies, and I think a lot of people just want to listen to, are the processes right? Is this going to happen or not? We know that you've got a lot of stuff, a lot of ammunition under your belt, but I think let us all expose it, let's see it. Third, I think ensuring continued collaboration, continuation of this discussion with the judiciary, with the security agencies, with your RPP, NCIC. And I think this way we work together to say, let's make sure your independence and your impartiality is really exalted. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, Kenya Daima commits to continue playing its role in championing for a peaceful, free, fair and credible election, and an electoral process that really gives everyone, investors, enterprises, people, all Kenyans, the confidence and the predictability to engage in their business and livelihoods without disruption. So we need to reduce the fear factor that people say, wow, we've got elections, therefore I will now destock, I will not stock anything, I will slow down my business, I'll slow down this. In fact, farmers are saying, let me not plant anything because you never know what happens. I think this is something that we've got to really move away from. And overall, I think the key issue is in line with our rallying call. And I'd like to say this all together. If we can actually say this all together, mimi ni Mkenya daima, nitatenda wajibu wangu. Can I request that everyone says it together? And we say, mimi ni Mkenya daima. Thank you very much. Tutende wajibu wetu, and really at the end of the day, we want this collaboration to work together because ultimately we're all aligned in terms of our goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vimal Shah, for that speech. I'm being reminded today is the World's Kiswahili Day. And Dr. Vimal, you've done very well. Yes, we appreciate your partnership because you and us are going to make this thing happen. From the pre-election to the real day of the polling day and post-election. So thank you. Allow me now to call the chairperson of Iebc to come and do three things. One, to introduce the commissioners. Two, to give a keynote address. And finally, to officially open this workshop. Karibu.
Thank you, Vice Chair. The Chair of the KEPSA, Madam Flora Mtai, Chair of Kenya Daima, Vimal Shah, all board members present, commissioners of Iebc, good morning. Indeed, very delighted to be here. And before I make a few remarks, I don't have a keynote speech as has been put on the program. Let me start by introducing the commissioners of Iebc. Please stand up where you are. I'll start from the Vice Chair herself, Juliana Cherera. Next to her is Commissioner Francis Wanderi. Next to him is Commissioner Boya Molu. Next, Commissioner Irene Masit. Next is, I can't see, Professor Gulie, Commissioner, and Commissioner Justus Nyangaya. So that is the team at Iebc. That's the team that is managing the 2022 elections. And indeed, having heard the previous speakers, Madam Flora and Vimal, I want to confirm to you that the Iebc is an independent institution. We do our work without fear or favor. In accordance with the law, we are not directed by any individual or authority or institution. We are answerable only to the Constitution, the law of the land, and whatever we do in terms of regulations and policies. So you may be unhappy with us, but so long as we are following the law, we are not worried. And that's why this week I've seen a lot of misinformation, disinformation, a lot of media spinning, stories running around about things that are not true. And today at around midday, we shall be holding a media briefing on some of the issues that are emerging, and we shall have a media engagement. I think the media invite has already gone out. But for this meeting, indeed, is a pleasure. I met Mkenya Daima in 2017. before the elections, and we had a very good engagement. Indeed, it's my pleasure to meet all of you. Seeing the composition of Kenya Daima, I think it has grown bigger than what it was in 2017. And I think the challenges you have given to us are real. I just want to confirm before you and the country that the Commission has prepared for this election more than ever before, and we are committed to ensuring that we have a transparent process. We are going to give Kenyans a free, fair, and credible election, and any issues that are perceived or real have been addressed, and we shall continue addressing them. That is our commitment to the country, and I want Kenyans not to fear about this election. Let me start by saying that in terms of election preparedness, procurement has been completely finalized. What we are doing now is the printing of ballot papers, which is ongoing. Today, I'll be taking a few commissioners with me. I'll leave you, I think, Vice Chair and 2 or 3 others to continue this conversation. We are receiving the first batch of ballot papers that are arriving in the country at the airport. All ballot papers will come through Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. There are no ballot papers from Uganda or anywhere else. So don't accept individuals to lie to you. All ballot papers are serialized. We are only printing ballot papers to the tune of 22,120,258, which is the number of registered voters per every elective seat. So you multiply that by the 6 elective positions, and you'll get the total number of ballot papers which are being printed. So there's no additional ballot paper. We know very well that there's never 100% voter turnout. So if there's any spoiled vote, it will be accommodated within that number. Those ballot papers are serialized, they have security features, and they're specific to that polling station. So we have, if a polling station has 600 voters, the ballot papers that station will be 600. So there's nothing like extra ballot papers being printed. So let's be true to ourselves. And I think in our engagement with the stakeholders, we have told them that an arrangement is being made. I think the CEO is finalizing on that to have some of the stakeholders travel to the printers in Greece to witness the printing of ballot papers, and especially the presidential ballot papers, which will be the last in the series for printing. So that transparency is there. The tender was done in an open, transparent manner. The commissioners and myself are not involved in the tendering process. It's a management issue, and I believe it was tested in the dispute resolution systems. And so, as a commission, we are aware this is election time. Of course, there's bound to be misinformation, and I'm happy, Kenya Daima, you've offered us a partnership in that respect to help us disseminate this information. Madam Cherera, I hope you'll pick it up, that we have partners here, we can communicate. We just want to communicate the truth, and nothing but the truth. So let's stop misinforming Kenyans. Let's all work together to have a peaceful election. Another aspect that is ongoing is preparation of the staff who will manage the elections. As we speak, we had a meeting with the officers, the returning officers, and we all are ready for the election. There is ongoing recruitment of various presiding officers, deputies, and clerks who will manage the election. So we have over 46,000 polling stations, which then we expected to have 6 individuals per polling station, a presiding officer, a deputy, and 4 clerks. And in that polling station, there will be 2 police officers manning the security in that polling station. What we are telling Kenyans and candidates, please have your agents in those polling stations. Voting will go on. The results will be, the votes will be counted, the results will be announced, and agents should have copies of the results. The result forms will be available for agents. Let everybody take a photo of the result form if they so wish. We have had an arrangement with the media, the sector working group. The media will have a presence in the polling stations, and at least in all the 290 constituencies, we are saying the media can report the results as they come out. Report results, but not declare so-and-so is the winner. That declaration is for us, the commission, and the returning officers who have been gazetted for that purpose. So what am I saying? Is that the results belong to the people of Kenya. They are not a secret. And so when we talk about servers, the server is actually at the polling station. So if we all have the results, candidates have their results, what are we doing at the tallying center? We are simply meeting to compare notes of your results and what the commission has received. So I think if we all work together, we should not have a situation where there's contestation around results transmission. But having said that, the commission will do what the law requires. We shall transmit the results for presidential, the National Tallying Center. We shall also get the physical results. We shall verify in the presence of agents who will also have their copies. And we shall come up with a declaration as to who has won the contest. It's a transparent process, and we look forward to working with the stakeholders. I also want to touch on stakeholder engagement, which you have mentioned in your remarks, Mr. Vimal. We are working closely with the National Police Service, and I think this was touched on by our CEO, where we have been assured that we have sufficient police officers to protect Kenyans during this period of elections. We shall have 2 officers per polling station. Remember, we have over 46,000 polling stations. We shall have officers manning tallying centers. That then is both at the constituency, county, and the national tallying center. And we have been informed that the country will be secure during this period. So I want to assure business people and other Kenyans that they should not worry during election time. Just go vote and go about what you do. You should not be worried about the security during that time. In case you are aggrieved, and this we have witnessed as a commission, we have a working arrangement with the judiciary through Judicial Committee on Elections. We have been holding meetings with this committee and discussing various ways of how to manage disputes before and after elections. This committee also has arranged trainings for magistrates, judges, which the commission attended and trained the magistrates and judges on how we do the elections. I see from the program that there's some training which will go on after this, and I think it's important that you pay attention so that we move together as a country. We also have working relationships with the DPP. As a commission, the law requires that we manage code of conduct. During nomination of candidates, the political parties and candidates signed a code of conduct. And then the commission is expected to enforce this code of conduct, which we did from the 20th of January this year when we gazetted the election, gave a notice of election in the gazette notice. However, at some point, the High Court declared the Electoral Code of Conduct unconstitutional. So we have been hampered about enforcing the Code of Conduct. There are many complaints which have been coming to us, but what we do is then forward them to the DPP, and the DPP then is expected to prosecute. these individuals through the magistrate's court. I'm yet to see any of the matters in the magistrate's court. As a commission, what the law had provided for us is that the code of conduct is quasi-judicial. It doesn't follow the rules of evidence and the criminal procedure code. So we were able in 2017 to dispense with complaints within 24 to 48 hours, and we brought sanity on the table. But this time round, because of the court judgment, we are unable to enforce the code of conduct, so we are relying entirely on the DPP. We were not happy with the judgment of the High Court. We filed an appeal in the Court of Appeal. The case was heard 2 weeks ago, but we were told the judgment will be on 4th of November. So again, 4th of November means that we cannot then as a commission do what the Constitution expected us to do. So mine is to appeal to Kenyans, please campaign peacefully, respect each other, and in the counties we have our peace committees through our county election managers preaching the same gospel. Campaign peacefully. But as it relates to criminal activities around the election time, with the DPP then will be seized of the matter. I want to finish off by saying that as a commission, we are committed to work with Kenya Daima, and we want to move together in the remaining 30 days. I hope you've been invited to a national conference coming up on 11th and 12th, and I believe you should also be invited to the National Tallying Center so that you can participate when we're coming up with the final results for presidential elections. Otherwise, I wish you a fruitful engagement this morning, and it's now my pleasure to declare this breakfast meeting official open. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Commission Chair, and the speakers who have spoken before him. Thank you for the wisdom you've shared with us. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you for assurance that you're going to work with us every step of the way. Thank you for the commitment also to stabilize the country and to walk peacefully towards the election day and even management of the post-election period. I would want now to invite Madam Ruth Kulundu, who is going to share with us the voting, counting, election results management for us all to Sorry for that. We were told by the chairman that we'll be leaving with some commissioners to receive the ballot papers from the airport, and that has occasioned a slight change in our program. And we would want to accord all of us a chance to ask questions, air your concerns, so that we respond to them before the commission chair and some commissioners leave for the airport to receive the ballot papers. Therefore, it's my pleasure to invite Commissioner Professor Abdi Gulie to take us through this session. And we will be taking questions in turn, 5 at first, then we take another round. Please, as you air your concern and ask your question, please tell us your name and the organization you work for, then we proceed from there. So we're going to take the first batch of 5. Karibuni sana.
Okay, who will go first? KEPSA members first. I know media people would be interested, but priority is to KEPSA members. Please stand up, ask your question.
Thank you very much. Vimal here, Kenya Visa. Chair KEPSA, Chair IEBC. My name is Uzalendo from the Education Sector Board. My chair is here. For us in education, of course, we've arranged the calendar to factor in the elections. So any hints of instability and unsureness cause us a huge potential for disruption. So we have no desire to see disruption. I think I want to hear some clarity on some of the political issues that can possibly cause disruption. And I think it is important to hear whether do we indeed have a manual backup voter register or not. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Next. I see it there.
Thank you. My name is Daniel from the Global Peace Foundation and Kenya Diana Steering Committee. I'm just looking at the polling station. And we have so many independent candidates. We're going to have each of them with their agents. So I'm worried about the crowding of the polling station, the security within the polling station. How are you going to manage the crowding in that? Because this is one of the things that is going to may cause mayhem if you have crowds within the polling station.
Thank you. Next. There, yeah.
Hi, yeah. Ben Roberts, I'm chair of the KEPSA ICT Sector Board. So obviously in the ICT sector we trust technology and we do understand that it's quite hard to sometimes explain technology to people. You know, we probably have some questions about the transmission and the technology being used. I won't ask them here because we know that again it's hard to disseminate questions, especially with the board to stay here. But I think, as Vimal said, we as experts in the sector, we would very much like to help disseminate the right messaging about how technology is working and how we should trust our technology. So we'd kind of like to maybe have a session to talk about the technology with the industry experts so that we can help with that dissemination.
Okay, I see a lady there.
Thank you. My name is Teresa Nyongo from Toronto, South Africa, KEPSA member. As a private sector, of course, our interest is the continuity of business, that we should be able to continue running normally during this time. Now, there are the law-abiding citizens, and there are those ones who would want to cause the mayhem. So, what my question is as Iebc, working with the security stakeholders, what support can we get in an event that we need security to continue as law-abiding citizens and continue with our businesses? We have some subsidized rates of security. We have lines that we can call to ensure our staff can still move, our production can continue, clearance can be done. So what support can we get as a private sector? Thank you.
Okay, can we have one last one and then we respond?
Now, I have two questions, but one has been asked there. Now, the second one is about every day we are seeing the political temperature in this country is going up. And I heard the chairman say that the Iebc has nothing, or there's nothing much they can do to cool the temperature. But as much as we prepare for the election, if the temperature continues the way it is going, we may not have a peaceful election. Because every day the politicians, they are working to make sure that this election will go their way, but not the way that you are working or this country need to go. And maybe the question is, what is the IBC doing to make sure that everything is said and done? This election will be peaceful, and the Kenyans and the nation of Kenya will remain united, and the people will enjoy the peace. Thank you.
Okay. The first question is on clarity of some political issues. Of course, the current hot potato is the register, the manual register. The Commission is abiding by a Court of Appeal ruling which was in 2017, and that ruling was as a result of some people having gone to court, and there was a contestation around a manual register and a digital register. A ruling was made at that time that the primary register to be used is the digital register. This was in 2017. And that in the event of technology failure, meaning the KIMS kit did not work, you turn up at the poll. First of all, for us to allow you to vote, you turn up at the polling station with your identification document that you used to be registered as a voter. And we have two documents that we usually use, people use to register as voters. One is the national identity card, and the other is a passport, particularly for those Kenyans that are outside the country. So these are the two documents of identification that are used for purposes of registering citizens as voters. So on the polling day, you turn up with either of them, depending on what you use to register. And the first thing that is done is to check the identity of the person against the identity of the person registered and is in our database. How do we do this? When we register you as a voter, we take 10 fingerprints. 5 left, 5 right, 10. And out of that, we only need 1 fingerprint to identify you. But we take 10 to spread the risks. Hapa umeburuzwa, imekulika kidogo, wewe ni mtu wa kulima, jembe imekula kwingine. So we take 10 to spread the risk of not being identified. And so that is why we take 10 fingerprints. In addition to that, during registration, we capture your facial image. We take your photograph. And of course, in addition to that, we also take other details, including, your ID number, if you have any contacts, phone numbers, and all that, all those biographic details. So when you turn up at the polling station, the first thing you will be asked is to identify yourself. You produce the document you used to get registered. And once they are certain you are the one, then they will ask you, put your finger on the KIMS kit. If you are in that register, then your details will pop up. Then all that the clerk does is to check the picture on the screen. Is it the person standing there? And if you are, then you will be allowed to go on and you will be issued with a ballot paper, you will go and vote. So in the event that 1 finger doesn't work, the other 9 fingers are spares. They are there. Sindio? And mark you, the register, digital register, the manual register that people are complaining about is printed out of the digital register. So it's not coming from the moon. It is this digital register which we use to collect your details that we print and bind in form of a book. So there is no way you will be in the book, the manual register, and you will not be in the digital register. Politicians like playing with psyches of Kenyans, but that is the truth. So when you turn up, and for some reason we can't find you, we have tested all your 10 fingers and none of them is identifying you or is popping you, or your details are not popping up, What is the second option that was as per the court orders of 2017? It says, if that is the case, probably there is a failure of the kit is not working. If that particular kit, if there is a failure of the kit and the kit itself is not working, we replace the kit. And this time we are saying instead of 3 kits in 2017 per ward, we have doubled it, we have 6 kits. So if there is a total failure, you have come to the polling station, the kit has refused to work, which means your fingerprints cannot be identified. Then what do? Replace the kit. In that kit, we insert an SD card which has the details of the register for that particular polling station. So we simply remove and insert that SD card from that faulty kit and transfer it into a working kit, which is a spare kit that is available. And because the details on that SD card is hashed, it is security protected. Even if you take it and to any computer, you can't read it. I think the IT people will tell you. So that much we protect even the details on that particular SD card. So once we replace the faulty kit and insert the appropriate SD card, the kit will function normally, if that kit is functional. If for some reason it can't function, we have a third kit that can be brought to check. So assuming all this is not working, that is the time when we can revert to a manual register. Okay? So preceding the faultiness of the kits, there was a step that I had skipped. If your 10 fingers are not able to identify you, then we have an option of, and assuming the kit is working normally. But for some reason, you as a voter who turned up, your fingerprints are not readable, then the other option we have is to take the ID number, your ID number, and insert in the kit. And once we insert your ID number in the kit, and if you are a registered voter, your details will pop up. Okay? So we have 2 ways of identifying you. First, your fingers, and that is assuming that kit is functioning. First, fingers. Secondly, use the ID card number to search the kit for that person. And if that person is in that register, then the details will pop up. And all that the clerk will do is to check the register against, the person standing there against the image on the digital register. So there is no way that this particular technology can fail. The chair is going to receive the first batch of ballot papers. I'm sure you all witness that they are not coming from Uganda. So that is how it is. I'm responding to that first question about the register. So really, there is nothing magical about the technology, the digital register that we are using. It is an order that we were given in 2017, which the Commission is just merely implementing. And I've heard people have gone to court to stop us from using a digital register. But we will hear whether the High Court will overrule the Court of Appeal judgment. It will be a very interesting scenario. So that is as far as the digital register is concerned. So the Commission's priority is to use a digital register, and there is a reason why we are asking, we are interested to use the digital register, because the manual register is prone to misuse. The manual register, if the details of the voter, which is already available in the manual register, if it is 3 o'clock, and your polling station, assuming there are 100 people and only 40 have turned up, and the manual register is there. The manual register has your name, your image, your ID number. So what do? I take the ID number on that manual register, insert in the kit, then I can say, you have come and voted, isn't it? Nipeane karatasi. So the Commission is trying to prevent such a mischief, assuming in strongholds where, we recruit our poll officials from Kenyans, and Kenyans are very tribal, isn't it? So if you recruit Kenyans from one community in one part of a stronghold of a particular candidate, They can sit together and say, wacha tusaidie mtu yetu, si ndio? Imefika 3 o'clock, tuchukue hii register, chukue hizi ID zote, si tunajua fulani, unaweka kwa system, and then in their place you give them ballot papers, they go and put it for, as if they have come to vote, the people who have never actually turned out at the station. So that is the mischief we are trying to prevent. At the end of the day, what do we want? We want a reconciliation done between people identified by the kit and the number of ballot papers issued. Because if you come and your fingerprints is tested and you are in the system and you are allowed to vote, at the end of the day, if your ID card was used to search and to identify you, and you are allowed to vote through a supervisory mode or that is going to be, that's available on the kit, the addition of the biometric identification and the ID search numbers, that total number of people identified should be equivalent to the number of ballot papers issued. That is the reconciliation we want done at the polling station. But if you say you can just use a manual register, then you get a scenario like in 2017, the Supreme Court was asking, how come the voters for presidential candidates is much higher than the voters for the other elective seats? You know we have 6 elective seats, isn't it? You have 10 or so million voters for president, but you have 9 million for a governor, senator, and this. So how do you explain the difference? And the difference is what I was explaining you. At 5 o'clock in strongholds, they start kujaza hiyo karatasi na kuwekea president, because they will not agree probably on MCA, they will not agree probably on the governor and the senator and the MP. But they are all in agreement on kiti kubwa, si ndio? So that's why sometimes you may find there are numbers for particular candidates, particularly presidential, will be higher than the number of voters for other positions. And this is what we are trying to prevent. So all that the Commission is trying to do is to ensure that there is a level playing field. So anyone trying to criminalize not using the hard copy register, they must be asked, what is your reason for insisting on that? Okay? There was a question on crowding of polling stations. The law allows a party to have an agent. It also allows candidates, regardless of what position they are contesting for, to have an agent as well. We have unprecedented numbers of independent candidates. They are all legally entitled to have an agent. You know, we use classrooms of primary schools as polling stations. You know how big the classroom is. And it is in that classroom that you have to have 6 clerks seated on one side. In the middle, you have the 6 ballot papers arranged. On one side, we have the observers and agents. And so the classroom will definitely be crowded. And that's why we encourage political parties to have agents, so that if there is, for example, a party X, the agent for party X can agent for the candidates competing on that party ticket, whether it is MCA, MP, women rep, senator, governor, president. So which means you only need 2 agents, one to be relieving the other. You only need 2 agents for all those elective seats. And so it's a discussion we are having with candidates on the ground on how to ensure that there is no crowding in the polling stations. But it's a right, if they insist, there's nothing we can do as a commission. We can't throw them out. So we'll have to see how to live with it. Some will be standing, others will be seated, you know. But that is the discussion we've had with political parties in 2017, and it's the same discussion we will have in 2022, so that we don't have crowding. If there is a party If there are party candidates, let's have 2 agents for that party to oversee for all the elective seats for those parties. The Chair ICT asked about session on technology with experts. I think it's agreeable with us. All that you need is to arrange your CEO to arrange with our CEO. Then we can have a small discussion on what kind of technology, how we are deploying it. So we can have that discussion. It's not a problem for us. Teresa asked about is Iebc working with security agents? And the Commission, as you may be aware, we are charged with the responsibility of conducting elections, but not with the responsibility of policing, isn't it? And so as a Commission, we work closely with the National Police Service. We have a project, we are calling it ESAP, Election Security Arrangement Program. This is an activity we've had in 2017, and this time we also escalated it. In the course of this project, we have developed training manuals, both for police officers and also for our staff. And so we have had a joint meetings for the last 1 year, if I may say so, to ensure that we have a very coordinated activities in terms of ensuring there is proper security for this election. So that program is in place, it's up and running. In fact, as we speak, we are now moving into the regions to have cluster trainings for training of trainers for police officers, so that we educate them on not just the electoral laws and the Election Offences Act, but we also educate them on the electoral procedures, election procedures as a commission, so that they can understand fully in terms of how the election is conducted, and they can see how they can fit in terms of their daily operations. But as a commission, our mandate is 400 meters square of the polling station. And for that, we provide two armed security officers for every polling station. So, and in some instances, we have polling centers that have several polling stations. So assuming a center has 10 polling stations, it means 10 times 2 armed security police officers or security officers. Okay? So we cater for that and we pay for it. But outside the 400 meters square, it's the responsibility of NPS. So maintaining law and order, controlling riotous crowds and all that, the normal police activity, and responsibility will kick in terms of maintaining law and order. And that's what we have been coordinating and working on, this election security arrangement program. We will presumably have a joint call center where we will be having incidences reported. We already, each one of us, have a software that does mapping of security in the country, trying to identify hotspots, and we compare notes. We have our own program and they have theirs, and we compare notes in terms of identifying hotspots and paying close attention in terms of maintenance of law and order. But we also have we will have a joint center where we will be able to have incidences reported, and as a commission we will also have our own internal call center where election-related issues can be reported, and we will share the same information with our counterparts in NPS. This question of Mwangi, political temperatures going up, how do we cool it? I think it's an activity for all of us, isn't it? As a commission, we are doing our best by trying to be open and transparent in how we are conducting this election. We've had various media briefings, we have had press releases. This afternoon we are going to have a media briefing, and we have asked our stakeholders, particularly politicians, political parties, We have an open door policy. Please come and share issues with us. And so by trying to be as open as possible, by trying to make sure that our systems are understood, we hope, it will contribute to reducing the political temperatures. But we all know we live in a country where election is a do or die, isn't it? And that is where the problem is. We have glorified politicians to the extent that everybody wants to be a politician. And sometimes I ask, when we clear candidates, they are at the bottom ladder of the IQ levels if you look at their certificates. I bet if you go to Parliament and get their CVs, if they have not gone to university, of which they have decided that they will remove the requirement for degree, which means from Form 4 you can go and walk into Parliament. If you decide to go to university, I bet most of them have passes or lower second-class honors. And by the very nature of that kind of category of people, they are always noisemakers, isn't it? And so they hype emotions of people so that they win election. Isn't it true? They want to get elected, they have to hype the emotions of their clansmen, kinsmen, family members. These ones are overtaking us, these ones are taking our land, these ones are doing that, so that wanakutia hamasa ndio uende ukawapigie kura. And as Kenyans, we should be saying, utatufanyia nini? That is the question that we should be telling Kenyans to ask these politicians. Not to be told tumetoka uko moja, tumetoka sehemu moja, and that should not be the basis for anyone to be elected. But unfortunately, until now, uchaguzi yetu ni uko, sindio? And that is why elections are hyped, that's why emotions are high. Unaenda kukufia mtu kwa sababu yeye ni kabila yako na hujui kama huyo akipata kiti kama atakusaidia chochote. And it's likely hata atajua wewe uliumia kwa sababu yake. This is the reality. So we will be open. We shall try to be as inclusive in terms of, explaining issues to people. But at the end of the day, all of us have a responsibility to ensure that we have a peaceful election. All of us. It's not Iebc alone. We cannot do it on our own. And that's the fact. Let us not allow politicians to hype issues. You have already had people saying we are this million strong. Umesikia? So what does that mean? We must win, isn't it? Supposing you don't win, kura iliibiwa is the next thing, sindio? And Kenyans have become so simple-minded to the extent that politicians have learned how to play with their psyche so that they can keep them around themselves. Utakuta mtu amesimamia uchaguzi, alikuwa wa mwisho, lakini hawezi sema nimeshindwa, nitajaribu wakati mwingine. Ataenda kwa wafuasi wake akamwambia, wajua nimeshindwa kwa sababu IEBC ilituharibia kura. IEBC imetuharibia kura ndio tumekosa uchaguzi. Why are they doing that? They don't want to be seen to be a loser. Because if you are a loser today, uende ukaambia watu, nimeshindwa leo lakini tutajaribu next time, people will run away from you. Who wants to hang around a loser? And that is how Kenyans are. They have to create a psyche among their supporters so that they don't desert them. And the best excuse to give is IEBC iliiba kura. So we need to think about these issues. We need to make politics to be issue-based so that we move away from this simplistic manipulation of people. Any other question? Kama sijajibu swali useme. Wenzangu wako hapa backup. Yeah. Vice Chair, anything you want to add? Commissioner Wanderi? There's a question here.
And here.
And there. Vice Chair, mtakuja hapa sasa mjibu hizi maswali.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm Super Churchill, and I represent the civil society in the steering committee of Nairobi. And thank you for speaking very broadly and making references to some of the anxieties out there. I would say that, weeping emotions. I mean, we saw what Donald Trump was capable of doing. Of course, there's a sense in which our politics is still primitive and basic, as to want to mobilize people on the basis of clan and these identity-related issues. But you see, at the end of the day, the effectiveness of the IEBC will be measured in terms of perceptions, founded or unfounded. And so I would be interested to know what measures the IEBC has put in place to address all these shades of perceptions. Because that is, it's like corruption perception index. It may be real or not, but perceptions are out there and they are bound to increase as we approach August 9th. And so what measures, I know my chair alluded to communication. And there's a sense in which the public, and you get this even when you talk to civil society, that you are not speaking as much as you should speak. So at the end of the day, what measures are you putting in place as IEBC to ensure that all these perceptions are responded, no matter how flimsy or no matter how unfounded, because they are just perceptions that politics is like wrestling or football. Watu wanajichosha, you see everybody is braving and saying we have this. And when one side is lamenting, the other side appears to be with you. Only for the side that was with you when the other side was lamenting to turn against you. So it's a ping-pong game. And so for me, the ball rests with the IEBC. And I think this gathering would best be satisfied if you assure it that you have put in place mechanisms to ensure that these perceptions are addressed no matter how flimsy they are. Thank you.
Okay. There was another question somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this.
Yes.
Daisy.
Yes.
I haven't seen you for a while.
Here I am.
Okay.
Thank you for addressing the issue of the register. And like Suba says, I think we've also had this discussion before, that the IEBC really needs to speak more to Kenyans and get ahead of the politicians so that we address the perception issue. My question is about the transmission of results, and specifically in relation to the areas where there is insufficient coverage, because IEBC is on record as having stated that at least 1,100 polling stations do not have the sufficient coverage. And of course, while that is not an IEBC thing, CAK, but this is a problem that persisted from 2017. How is that being addressed? Then there was also the issue of the test run that was done last month with 2,900 stations, which also was not very successful. So are we going to have another test run of transmission to see how the system is working, and what is IEBC doing to address that challenge of low coverage? And are you working with the CAK to address this? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, there.
My name is Wesley Silva, and I'm from the agricultural sector, and we have a big number in terms of labor intensity. And so I wanted to understand, first of all, to say thank you for what you're doing. I think you're doing a good job in terms of preparation for the elections. I wanted to understand what is the expectations of IEBC on the private sector. especially in terms of the release of the employees through and board. Some of the operations, of course, in some farms may not stop and may need coordination in terms of releasing these people to go to the polling sector. So exactly what will be expected of the private sector in terms of that? Thank you.
Okay, maybe one more, then.
Jambo.
Yeah.
I want to register to this audience that today is Sabasaba Day. As we are seated in the comfort of this hotel, many youths across the country are having demonstrations, walk, marches on issues of insecurity, youth brutalization by the police, sexual and gender-based violence, Unga and Njaa revolution. Many people are living in the streets, have not paid rents for months, and so many other things that are very, very basic to all of us Kenyans, that again make the youth very vulnerable to being misused by politicians because of those frustrations. I want to register that. And to remember that this comfort that is coming from our constitution was born by Sabasaba since 1990. People died in the process, others were detained, and what IEBC can assure Kenyans that the deaths, the arrests, the beatings, the injuries, and all that people suffered was not in vain by delivering credible elections. And these youth, from wherever they are skeptical because from their experience, and many of us, and the reason why people are skeptical is because independent institutions and commissions have not shown independence by all manner of behaviors. And even if you are trying, other independent institutions make you look bad. So you have a lot of homework. To the middle class and those who can afford WhatsApp and be in such spaces are highly privileged. And what Daisy also asked, how do you communicate to people beyond this level? Are your county coordinators empowered to give the same messages in the counties and sub-counties and convene at that level and address issues directly face-to-face with people at those levels? Because not everyone reads what is written in the newspaper. If you put your statement and a politician puts theirs, you know who is likely to be trusted. So communicating at the community level, being responsive to issues that are directly affecting them, and reassuring them at the county and sub-county levels is very key. What strategies that are there to communicate to them beyond just saying come out and vote? Thank you.
Asante sana. Those are heavy questions. Vice Chair, which ones are you picking? Commissioner Wanderi? You want to try transmission? Go ahead. Vice Chair can. Vice Chair, you can pick the last one.
Yes,
communication. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor. Now, communication. Basically, what has IEBC done to effectively communicate, knowing that politicians stir up emotions of the people. And this is what we do as the Commission. We have had stakeholder engagement because we realize the importance of stakeholders. There are things that when they are spoken by IEBC, they sound different, and when they are spoken by a third party, yourselves, we've met with religious bodies, we've met with the political parties, in fact, many times. We've met with youth, people living with disabilities, and the women. And this, we have structures that run to the counties, run to the constituency. Because IEBC, we have staff that are permanent and pensionable. 47 of them in all the counties. We have 290 of them in the constituencies. Now, they are also mandated to have stakeholders engagement, and that they've been having. For example, when we were doing the enhanced continuous voter registration, we had in the national level the engagement with our stakeholders, and then the same was replicated in the county level and in the constituency level. Because we realized that when we speak up here, not everyone hears us. But when our people on the ground call the stakeholders and they speak to them and they tell them, this is the activity that IEBC is doing, and this is your responsibility. You need to get registered as a voter, because without that you will not participate in the August general election. So that one we've been doing. Number two, the communication. We have started the weekly press brief. You have realized that the way IEBC communicates first is the chairman is the official spokesperson of the commission. So our structure is that when we are doing a new activity, the chair together with the commissioners will call a press brief and inform the country this is what we are doing. Then after that, it is followed up by commissioners getting into the media houses and FM stations and talking to the Kenyans about the activities and the status of preparedness, what we are doing. We've had even commissioners and the staff going to the local FM stations where we speak our own very mother tongues. Yeah, we speak our languages. We have a commissioner who is from Rift Valley, Irene Masit. She's been out there speaking to the people. We have Nyang'aya, who's been doing a lot of the Luo. We have Wanderi, who's been doing a lot of Kikuyu. Myself, I'm good in Kiswahili. And that one, so that we reach the people down there on the grassroots level. Also, we are on our social media platforms, the Facebook, the Twitter handles, where we post every activity that the commission is engaged in. So, as a commission, all these avenues we have invested in it. And going forward, we are going to have frequent media press. Today, the chairman has already announced that he's going to do a press brief. We wanted to be having it every Monday, but the activities of the commission sometimes do not allow us to have it consistently every Monday. But because we are in the last month, we are 34 days to election, so these press briefs are going to be frequent, even after 2 days, so that we tell the country this is the stage where we are and this is what we are doing. This is the milestone that we are running today, and tomorrow there is another one that is unfolding. So I have loved one point with this sitting, that KEPSA, Mkenya Daima, you have volunteered to sit with us, to enhance our communication platform. And that one is welcomed. So this is one of the pointers, Professor, that after this, we have a small team that will give us a boost in this communication front, so that we are very, very effective upfront in answering the questions and upfront before the politicians go out to spear some mud. But for IEBC, we are committed for a free, fair, and credible election.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Wanderi, on transmission.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for those comments. I want to take the issue of transmission and assimilation that has been asked. First and foremost, let me agree that our assimilation was not as good as we would have liked it to be. We were about 87%
However, we covered the whole nation. We did the simulation whereby the results were transmitted from every ward in the country. So we had 2 polling stations in every ward. And because of lack of preparedness, from the point of view that we were not able to get all the service providers with us. Safaricom was not with us at that particular time. But now we have agreed as a commission, we are going to do another one in the next few days. And that one, we will have Safaricom in place, and it will be much more detailed to the level whereby we would like to see political parties being able to download the results transmitted so that they can be able to do the actual thing that will happen during the election day. That is planned, and we are going to do it that way. Now, let me come to the issue of transmission of presidential results. Once the polling station has been closed and the votes are counted and at the polling station, what happens is there is a form, 34A, which is filled the presence of our agents and the observers by the presiding officer in that polling station. That form will indicate the results of each presidential candidate. And the agents, plus the presiding officer and the deputy, are required to sign that form. Which means, and according to Mainakea ruling, the results at the polling station are final. What will happen after that? The Teams kit that is used for identifying your fingerprints when you're voting has a camera. And that camera will be used to take an image, a picture of that form, which has been signed and filled by all.
Go up there. I'm being told that it is live and they are not seeing anyone talking.
You don't need the mic.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Fam. Let me repeat. This was about the simulation. We agree as a commission that we did not have a very successful commission. According to assessment, it was about 85% successful. We had covered 2 polling stations in every ward in the whole country. That means we had 2,900 polling stations that returned the results. The speed was not very good. One of the reasons is why, because we had only 2 service providers, network service providers. At that particular time, we did not have Safaricom on board. But we have agreed as a commission that we are going to carry out another simulation in the next few days before the election that will also cover the whole country. And it will be very detailed to the level whereby even the stakeholders can be able to download the result form.